Hey up everybody and welcome back. Right, well it's sunny. The average temperature's gone up. I'm actually just walking up and down the body warmer now instead of a great big coat. And the snow has all but gone for some bits in the woods. And as you'll see, the Triumph Otter is here. That's because I was being a bit optimistic when I started it up about how much smoke there was. As I said, the snow's about gone and all that nasty ice has gone off the drive, so I thought, oh, time to wash these bikes, get everything ready for the spring. So I got this one out, started it up, started to ride up the drive, and was like one of these World War II Navy films, you know, where the captain says, make smoke to disappear. Yeah, well, I don't think anybody on the road could see me. So I turned around and came back, and I pulled off the new exhaust and looked in it, and it was already black and oily. So I thought, don't know what's going on here, but we're going to have a look at it. Partly because of the new silencer, you know, having the packing in there, it's not going to do it any good if I start. Oh, that lorry was moving. If I start pumping oily exhaust through there, I mean, it really was, it was wet already. So I don't know, I thought, let's have a proper look at this. So what we're going to do, first of all, I've got to take some plate off anyway. We're going to pull that drain, the crankcase drain, see how much oil is in there. Then what we're going to do is, I'm going to take all the top off. While I've got the carb off, I'm going to check the float level. We'll talk about that more when we get to it, because it's a bit confusing and I think a little silly, the instructions you get. And we're going to do a lot of measurements of the bore, because we know we've done the head now. I really thought we'd sorted it when I found that loose valve guide, that exhaust valve guide, but it was, you wouldn't believe how bad it was. Actually, I'm just looking now, and you remember before the return line was full right at the top? Yeah, well now it's dropped down a little bit. I honestly don't know what's going on here, but it was really bad. So as I say, we're going to take the top off. We're going to take some measurements of this barrel and the pistons. And one thing I was thinking of was, I've sort of set everything up as if it has the cast iron barrels, and I'm wondering if the alloy barrels, of course, will expand a bit more than the cast iron. So do I need less piston clearance and less piston ring gap? So what I might do, I think, since we're going to have the barrels off, is grab the pair of cast iron barrels, because you remember I ran it with that originally because the alloy barrels were so long in coming, I didn't want to hold the bike up. So I bored and honed the cast iron barrels to take these, what are they, Kawasaki pistons? God, I've got to look that up so I can get new piston rings if need be. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. So this is jump the queue to a certain extent over the BSA, although really it's a continuation of doing the silencer. Alright, so let me get it jacked up and let's get that drain plug out. Right then, let's see what's in here. Although to be honest, I don't know how much there should be in here. That wasn't very tight. That seems to be quite a lot. doesn't it? Ooh, yeah, it's still running. Yeah, surely there shouldn't be that much in there. I mean, I'm hoping it is wet sumping, and then we don't have to take all the bleeding engine apart. That's a lot of oil. But how's it getting in there? We've got a brand new pump. Alright, we'll let that finish draining. I will go and have my sausage in a bun, and I'll do a quick internet search and see if I can find out how that was just the fibre washer dropping off. And I'll see how much oil there should be in there. This is ridiculous. But then, you've heard me say before, I hate triumphs. Anyway, time for a sausage. Right, so I checked several Triumph, well, I put in a question about how much oil should be in the sump, and several, what do you call them, bulletin boards, threads came up, and it varied from, well, there were several people in answer to that question said they'd actually measured how much came out of the sumps on their bikes, and it varied from 120 to 200, something like that. I got 400 mil out of there. So that does seem a little excessive. So I think what I'm going to do is put the drain plug back in, and we'll start it up when we know there's no oil in the bottom. See what happens, and we'll take it from there. Alright, now I haven't put the silencer on. That's what those couple of bits of cardboard are for, so I don't batter stuff everywhere. And I've got the primary side off because I was just playing around with the ignition timing the other day. Right, well, I don't really have any neighbours. You know, there's only George across the way, which is 100 yards away. But that was a bit noisy, so I put the silencer back on because the cardboard wasn't showing any oil. Well, that really didn't seem to make any difference. That's a lot of smoke. So, come on, we'll let it cool down and then we'll strip it. I don't know if you'll be able to see this. I've just taken these plugs out. You saw how long that engine ran. Can you see that on there? They are soaking wet. I mean, they're not just damp, they've got they're shiny with petrol. Hang on. Look. Look at that. All right, here's some more clothes. Little bit oily at the bottom. Exhaust pipe, carbony but dry as a bone. Little bit in there. That's the right hand side. Left hand side. Absolutely dripping. Right down into there, look, even that's wet. Wet. So whatever the problem is, it's worse on the left. Alright, it's Saturday morning. Started taking this apart. I've spoken to a couple of friends and looked some stuff up, and to be honest, there's, just as myself, there's several possibilities of what this is. So what I've decided to do is just simply not try to diagnose the problem at all. I'm going to strip it right down. We're going to measure pistons, piston rings, cylinder bores, etc. If I need new rings, or I might just buy new rings anyway, I found a place on the internet actually, which is just down in Pennsylvania, it's not that far, that does all the necessary work on Nickel cylinders. That's what they specialise in. They can take the old plating off, they can replate to the size you want, they can bore it out and put different size plate on, all sorts of things like that. So, seeing as we've done the head, I'm going to make absolutely certain everything is right with the barrels and the pistons. Then we're going to take the oil pump off, even though it's a brand new one, just to make sure a piece of muck hasn't got through and got underneath one of the balls for one of the sprung balls for the non-return system. Make sure that's right. Working on the principle, if we rebuild it with everything perfect, it's got to work right. So I'm just going to drop the engine now because I can't get clearance here. You see things start to, particularly with the back ones. So I've taken the bolts out. I'm going to drop it down. It just tilts, and then I can get everything off, and then we'll come back and we'll start doing some measuring. Alright, do you know what, the autofocus isn't working very well. I wonder if it's from when I dropped it the other day. But although I want to show you symptoms, God, that's terrible. Hang on, let me put this back on manual focus. That is the exhaust tappet block. See all the oil on it? There's oil all around the bottom, there's oil all on the top. I'm going to move you around. There. You have to bear with me with this. You see the oil in there? There's virtually no oil on that tappet block at all compared with the other one. And see the oil in the valve pockets on the left hand side there? And there's the right hand side. So there's definitely far too much oil in there. Look at this. I just ran the pistons up and down so I could get the tappet things to come up so I could wedge them. See how much oil there is there? Look how much oil there is that the piston's pushed up and then is running down. Now this is weird. That side seems to be oiling more on the exhaust than this side, as you can see. That's black, this isn't. But that has less oil in it than this one. But I mean, there shouldn't be that much oil in there. We're getting far too much oil up into there. So let's see, we'll just take it apart and put it together properly. Right, I've been doing some measuring. So here's the two pistons, right and left. Both came out spot on the same, 2.729 inches, which is 69.32 millimeters. Now I think Kawasaki must have changed the bore from the very early ones to the later ones, because when I look up KZ 1000 specs, it's 69.5 millimeters, but other ones are 70 millimeters. Of course, the Triumph 500 is 69. So anyway, that's what the pistons come out to, 2.729. The cylinders come out the same, and I've measured them front to back, side to side, a couple of different levels up and down. So I took a bunch of measurements and they came out at 2.734. So we've got 5 thou. It should be about 2.5 to 3 at the most, or 2.5 to 3 according to the book. And that's about right for sort of 1 thou per inch. And I checked with the B44 and what have you, with other alloy barrels as opposed to cast iron barrels. I checked the B44 and the B40 because they're both the same bore, but one's an alloy barrel with a cast iron line and one's a cast iron barrel, and there was a difference, but funnily enough it went the other way. It was a larger gap for the cast iron barrel, so whatever. So we got 5 thou. Is that too much? Is it enough for all that oil to be everywhere? Well, again, decision time. I've decided if it's all stripped and everything like this, we might as well do it right. So I have 2 options depending. If I can find a couple of new pistons and they are a larger diameter than that when I get them, then I'm going to have a good piston gap and they should come with rings. I haven't measured the ring gaps yet actually, so I'll do that. Or, I mean, they're pretty good pistons that are in there. I could get the cylinders, get some more Nickersil put on, or actually what they do I think is strip the old off, and get the cylinders brought out. No, yeah, get the cylinders so that that is a closer gap. So I'm going to keep looking over the weekend here for pistons. If I can find a couple of pistons, see, this is the thing. You see a piston for sale, because I don't want to buy 4. There's plenty of sets, which are $600-700. Obviously, I don't want to pay $700 and have 2 pistons sit on the shelf forever. But I have seen a couple of odd pistons for sale, but they don't say what bore they are. I mean, they'll say standard, but they don't say standard 69.5 or 70. So I've got to really pin down that. So if for a couple of $100 I could get 2 brand new pistons, which will give me the right sort of gap in here, or if I can find out what the standard pistons should be, and see if it's that. But these look a little bit worn. Or is it going to be cheaper? Because I think it's going to be like, well, there's plus shipping. It might end up being $300 or $400 to get the thing nickel sealed. And if I had to get pistons and get it nickel sealed, then obviously, because don't forget those barrels cost me $800 to start with. It's another one of those cases where luckily I got the engine pretty cheap. Well, it wasn't, no, actually it wasn't that cheap, I don't think. It was a good price compared with what other ones were up for sale, but you know. Anyway, as I say, it's the weekend, so I can do a lot more searching, see what I can find out. I might phone Weisscore and ask them what's what. Actually, the people that do the Nickersill do pistons as well, various makes, because they say you can send your barrels off and get them Nickersilled and get pistons to fit from them. So, who knows? I've got to see. Alright, but anyway, that's as much as I'm doing for the weekend. So, Monday is St. Patrick's Day and we have friends coming, so it'll be Tuesday morning before I'm back out. Right, it's now Tuesday afternoon, so I've got a couple of things to show you. See this here, I've had that under there with the plug out since Saturday lunchtime. So what's that? That's 24, 48, that's 3 days. Alright, that's been there for 3 days, and I would say that little bit is just the final drainings, because, let me move you, when I drained the crankcase and put that underneath, I also took a measurement here. I took it down to 5 inches and the oil level was to there. It's been back on a ship again. That's exactly the same. There's not a drop of oil gone out of that oil tank in 3 days. We're going to be here a little while on the bench, so we'll keep measuring that. Right, so let me show you something else now. Right, well, so just been measuring the piston rings, the end gap, and on this cylinder here, top ring's 18 thou, the middle ring's 22 thou, but the oil scraper rings, which are those 3-piece ones, which I don't like, the two of them were completely different. Can you see in there? But look at this. I've put a piston in which measures exactly the same. It's got the 3 parts of the oil scraper. It's just... So maybe that's my problem. Let's see what it's like in the other ball. See, I mean, they go in without even having the chamfer. Actually, that is a little tighter. Or maybe there's a bit more oil in that. No, it's sliding down, look. So, anyway, I have ordered new piston rings. Because I'm thinking a 5 thou piston clearance rather than the 3 thou might give me a little bit of piston slap, but I can live with that rather than spending... Well, actually, I'm having trouble finding pistons. The first, I think, 2 years of the KZ 1000, they were 70mm. Then from 81 right until the end, they were 69 point, well, depending, some books say 69.5, some say 69.4, which is what we've got here. These bores are 69.44. So these, you know, I got these bores done right. So I don't think 5 thou is that bad. But those piston rings are a long way out. So anyway, I've ordered new piston rings, so we'll wait until they come. Might be Thursday, Friday, I don't know. And then we'll fit them and see what happens from there. Well, it's Saturday, it's freezing cold, so I'm just going to finish off this video with a few bits. Just check the oil level on the Triumph. So it's a week now it's been standing there, and the oil level in the tank hasn't dropped a bit, not in the least. So I don't think we're getting any wet sumping. The new piston rings I ordered haven't arrived yet, so we're at a standstill with that. But I have received a box. Now this is from Roderick out on Long Island, and he contacted me and said he had something which he would like to give me. So I said thank you very much, because it's always very nice when people say that they enjoy the videos so much that they'd like to give me a gift. So I greatly appreciate that. So Roderick was actually going to drive it over, but it's a long way to Long Island, and he's up in his 70s like me, and like I think a bunch of you. So anyway, he UPS'd it to me, and it came yesterday afternoon. So, as you know, I don't do unboxings, but this is rather special. So here it is. It's not too heavy, it's just awkward. Now first of all, is that or is that not a wonderful piece of packaging? Alright, so what is it, you say? Well, let's see. Of course, it's so well packed, I'm going to probably send me the rest of the day to unpack it, Roderick. So let's see what we can do. Now we're shaping my horse. It's like when you buy something from somewhere that's, you know, some assembly required. Do we ever look at the instructions? No, of course not. Not until we're stumped. To be honest, if I'd known it was going to take this long, I probably would have unpacked it, but I thought it would be a little more. Well, Roderick, what did you do? And here is to get this cut without cutting the end of my finger off. Nearly there, I promise you. Ta-da! Ta-da indeed. Get up there, stay up there. That is... Hang on, let me put that in. Alright, who knows what it is? That is a Sammy Miller High Boy frame. A It's actually for a Bultaco 350 for a Sherpa. But oh, the footrests are in a good place. You see that? Look, behind, below the swinging arm. Of course, for some reason, I don't know why they made such tiny ones. We'll probably find a way to put some bigger ones on. So it's got the frame, swinging arm, brake pedal, oh, it has the oiler in the swinging arm. Everything that should be there is there. So that is going to be an interesting thing to build. That's remarkably narrow tube you used for it, or is it? Does it just look narrow? 1 3/8. Five eighths, 3/4. So it's very light construction. That's, what's that? 1 1/4 for the swinging arm. So I don't know what thickness the walls are, but that's about as heavy as the frames I build, or the modified BSA frame. Looks as if it's definitely bronze. They were originally nickel plated. Fortunately, some years ago, Roderick had the complete bike. He was telling me his house and workshop burnt to the ground, and things like the plastics and all that naturally didn't survive. But there you go. Headstock's made up to have taper roller bearings. Anyway, that goes to one side, and we'll have to think what sort of engine to put in it. Something different. Obviously, I'm not going to put a two-stroke in. It's a bit short from top to bottom for a beezer in. Anyway, we've done lots of beezers, so I don't think it's quite long enough either. Maybe we should put a Japanese engine in this one. What do you think? I've had people commenting to me a couple of times about putting a Honda Twin, you know, like a 175, something of that sort in, which might be interesting, because I fancy doing something interesting with this rather than just, let's say, another BSA. But I tend to use them just because I've got ones. Anyway, that's that. So did I mention it's freezing cold today? I was going to have a little ride round on the Greepser just to show you it, but it's too bloody cold. I'm not taking it out. However, I did take it out to ride this week. I've been out 3 times this week, 3 complete loops, 20 sections each time. I went out on the Enfield, the modernised one, last Sunday. Really nice ride round. Wednesday I was going to take, well, Wednesday I went out on the Greepser, and the throttle, I only did about 3 sections. The throttle was, oh, it was terrible. So I brought it back, and because it was nice weather then, I jumped on the Enfield and did the ride round. So Thursday morning I set to look at that. I checked the twist grip. I thought it was maybe too strong a spring because I have a big coily spring on the carburetor. I disconnected both ends and pulled the inner through. The inner seemed to slide. Everything was, I couldn't find out what it was. So in the end, because it's a brand new cable I made up, in the end I put another cable on, and it was the cable. So I don't know why. But anyway, so I took it out to ride and did the 20 sections, and when I got back I was worn out. It was harder to ride than the Enfield. The front end just feels completely wrong. It's incredibly nimble. I mean, when I'm doing little things it turns beautifully. The engine feels smashing, the gearing's just right, but the least little bit of up, perhaps because it's so short and the forks are so far back, it was really murder. The hill climb where I go up and I go around the tree, I got up and you know, you just couldn't do anything with it. So I've been thinking about that. So let's move on to the last little bit for this week's video. Pulled the original banana forks out. Let's have a look at them. And as you know, I cut a couple of holes. This is where the holes were. There's a couple of holes much smaller on the other side. So I decided that they twisted a little bit as well. Anyway, I'm going to have a go at repairing these. Why not? So what I'm going to do, this is just under 1 3/4 OD, and it's just under a 1/16 wall thickness, so it's really lightweight tube. So I reckon some chrome moly tube, 1.5 inch, would be strong enough to replace this section here. So what we're going to do is, it's straight to about there and it's straight here, and actually, of course, let me move this over a bit. This is a case of form following function. That laid out the steering geometry, and to get to it they put that curve in. It doesn't have to be that curve. All we need is to have these there in relation to that and the headstock. So that actually, I mean, that could be straight from there up to there, or any sort of configuration. Now I can only bend up to 1.5 inch tube with my bender, which is fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to sleeve this. We're going to cut it off. I'm going to make a piece to hold it all, like a jig to hold it, so everything's kept right. Then we're going to cut this off here, because all this bottom end is fine. All this up here is fine actually when you look inside. I think they've had water in. Don't know if anybody else did this, but when I was at grammar school, the equivalent to high school, in chemistry, one of the experiments we did was on rust. And we took 3 conical flasks, put some nails in each one. One we filled right to the top with heavily boiled water, so there was no dissolved gas in it, no air. And that was sealed up and left. Second one, we put a desiccant in to dry all the air, to dry all the water out the air. And the third one, we just put a bit of water in. So one had water but no air, another one air but no water, and the third one had air and water. And of course only the third one rusts. So, which is why you often pull things out of ponds and stuff and they haven't completely rusted away. So I'm assuming that they have sort of had so much water in, a certain level of water, that in there it didn't rust much, but this bit with the water vapour at the edge, anyway, might be completely wrong, but it would seem to be a reasonable assumption. So this first sort of straight bit is fine, and all of that is fine. So we'll sleeve this, we'll sleeve that, and we'll bend a piece of 1.5 inch chrome moly. I was thinking actually what I might do is sort of, rather than have this big swoop, have slightly more of a bend there and this be straighter, because it doesn't matter if this turns, say, as long as it's there. The orientation of it doesn't matter. And then that way the only bit of bend would be right up here, and it would be up into there a good bit and down into here a good bit. I think it'll be equally as strong as that. And then we'll try them. And if they don't work, well, we'll try something else. Maybe get a pair of TY forks or something. But anyway, that is our next project, because I'm assuming the piston rings will come before I get stuck into this. But anyway, Monday we'll start with whatever we've got. Okay, so that's it for this week, and until I see you next week, you stay safe and enjoy yourselves.